Hello everybody, today I wanted to discuss my rambly thoughts before Generation 9 as like a recap type of thing. Because wow, Generation 9, Scarlet and Violet, that is just a few days away, maybe by the time this comes out it's like just a day or two away, which is like crazy. Wow. I think what makes this so crazy is that Generation 8, like, we're going into an actual new generation, right? Generation 8, like really any other generation, but it felt like it had a really long lifespan, especially because it had so many new things like Legends Arceus and DLC for the first time. It really had a lot new going for it, especially being the first mainline game on the Switch. And so I sort of just wanted to talk about my thoughts on everything and like sort of just as a recap, closing out everything before we get into Generation 9. So let's just get into it. Let's get started. So Sword and Shield introduced the wild area. It was the most expansive Pokemon that had ever been. It introduced so many new concepts, like there were really strong Pokemon from the very start, and you could technically battle them. You couldn't catch them, but like you could battle them, and it was like really crazy. You had Dynamax. It was super big. It really emphasized what the Switch could do. And from what I understood, the entire point of Dynamax was like the raid den battles, that because the Switch can be played in docked, handheld, on the go, and all types of environments, I think what they wanted to do is that you can just pop up Sword and Shield and just continue playing, like, even after you finish the game. And I think they did that really well, and you could see that because Dynamax, the raid den battles, it was a lot of fun. Very slow, I will give it that, but it seems like Scarlet and Violet will be quicker, so we could see that they are learning from that. But it just introduced so many new firsts with the wild area, and it was like the first time that you can just roam around in like a type of open environment, and I personally found it a lot of fun to traverse. So I really enjoyed it. And then they came out with the DLC. And boy, this DLC was basically some of the most fun I've ever had in Pokemon in general. I had so much fun just exploring the environments, exploring what the story had to offer, because the Crown Tundra, for example, had like such a fun story for me to at least experience. So personally, playing through the Crown Tundra, the Isle of Armor, all of that was so much fun. And I remember seeing the reveal trailer for them, and I thought it was so cool because the way they did it felt like you're truly an explorer, and the art was gorgeous and the environments look so good. Perhaps still being the peak of any type of Pokemon game, that's like any type of mainline Pokemon game, in my opinion. And I will soon go into that, how they have transformed that into Legends Arceus. What I hope that they will even take that concept into Generation 9, because they definitely are, and I'm excited to see how they develop that. But moving on, the Sword and Shield and the DLC really brought in new life to the series, introducing like actually open environments to explore with new concepts such as the raid battle den stuff, and especially the DLC having the Dynamax layers, which is, by the way, perhaps one of the most funnest like repeatable things in Pokemon in general. I know of the Battle Frontier, and I know that a lot of people like that. I personally never got to experience the Battle Frontier, so that is just my experience. And then after the release of both DLCs, we soon get a Presents. And what did that Presents hold? Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And Legends Arceus, but who cares about that one? No, seriously? Okay, so Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So what I was expecting when you started seeing like the years going down and it said 2006, and I'm like, okay, this is Diamond and Pearl remakes. And then they showed the chibi. At first it was like a bit disorienting, but I quickly got used to it, and I actually had so much fun with the games in the end. Definitely didn't do anything new for the series. I mean, I guess they kind of did by making them simplified remakes, like even more so than previous ones like Auras. But I still had a lot of fun just enjoying playing an older game in like an HD format, and it really just brought that like 2D, like that feeling that you got from playing 2D games. So I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and quite honestly, I probably wouldn't even mind if they would make another one day in that type of Ilka style. And then you saw the reveal of Legends Arceus. So basically, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were just a supplement to the actual remake, and I think think Legends Arceus was so much better than a scaled up version of Sinnoh, because I mean, imagine if we got a Sinnoh remake and they basically just made it taller. What would have that really done? But instead they gave us a new experience, new lore, new characters, new everything, but almost giving you that nostalgia from Sinnoh. I thought it was amazing. I thought the way they handled it was actually quite immaculate. And boy, do I have to say that the new cycle of Legends Arceus in 2021 was the most hype I had ever been for any type of Pokemon game, basically ever. Before then, I hadn't really ever been part of like a release, like the news cycle. I would like sort of just passively look at it. But with Legends Arceus, I was fully into it. And so seeing that this huge step, this monumental step from Sword and Shield to Sword and Shield's DLC, all the way to Legends Arceus, it felt so great of a leap that I could not contain my excitement. Well, I mean, apparently I did, because I didn't have a YouTube channel then. But now I'm getting it out there, so there. And gosh, the first day that I played Legends Arceus, I had the biggest smile on my face. It was such a cool experience, and I will never forget that. And Legends Arceus is already super nostalgic, even Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And it was just some of the most fun I've ever had playing Pokemon. Technically, every Pokemon game, I've had some of the most fun I've ever had playing Pokemon, because they all have their own unique charm to it. And I just love that so much about the series. So we have that huge monumental step with Legends Arceus being open zone. And then we have Generation 9. But before we get to that, I sort of just wanted to sort of talk about the in-between stages with the DLC, Legends Arceus and Generation 9, and how they sort of develop from each other. So the DLC first introduced sort of walking on an open path, right? I sort of want to call it an open hill game. I don't know if that's a term. I'm just sort of making it up. Open hill game. That's sort of how it felt. We then got the DLC, and that felt sort of like just open zone DLC, I guess you would just call it. And honestly, despite them being much smaller compared to Legends Arceus, which we'll speak about in a moment, it definitely felt very vast and open, because it was technically the first we've ever gotten, right? Plus, the character was quite small, so the controls and the environment, it all laid out that even though it wasn't so big, it still felt really big, and it still took a while, but it didn't feel too long. Basically, it was very well laid out, in my opinion. And I thought the level design in the DLC was like just such a step up from the wild area, and was basically everything and more that I wanted from the wild area. Then Legends Arceus took that a step further and just went straight to open zone game. I was not expecting that at all, personally. I imagined that they would still stick with the wild area route in the remake, right? But they were like, nope. And you could definitely feel the passion that they put into Legends Arceus. I personally love that game so much. It is amazing. And in a way, it definitely felt very different from the wild area. It felt much more like of it being like a much darker and horror kind of setting for Pokemon, but having a fully controllable camera, having even more options than the DLC. I mean, sort of, but basically having more options with movement, the controls, the camera than the DLC. It felt like a truly, it felt like the true next step of Pokemon. And before Generation 9 got revealed, I assumed that, okay, it's probably gonna be like sort of a mix, right? Where they maybe make like more camera controls, but it'll be more like a Sword and Shield type of movement, that sort of style, right? But again, nope, they just wanted to make a completely open world game, which I mean, okay, thanks, oh, whoa. So yeah, I'm excited to see how Generation 9 develops the entire situation. How they develop from Sword and Shield, from Legends Arceus, from all of that into an open world game, and I'm so excited because so far it looks like it's going to be an amazing, beautiful, genuine experience. Good, positive, all of that. So I'm just so excited. But what about you? Please let me know what you guys think about this video, what you guys think about like the contents of which I spoke about, and please feel free to share your thoughts because I am very interested to know what they are, especially in comparison to mine. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, and if you enjoyed me, maybe subscribe. But with that, bye!